Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be filming like a beauty video right now. I'm honestly like so re-inspired with beauty and makeup content. If y'all don't know, that's like where this channel originally started. I actually had like a makeup blog, and then I did pretty much all beauty content initially, and then obviously my channel kind of evolved over time, but I'm just like so re-inspired with makeup and beauty products and all of those things right now. So I actually have a huge beauty haul of a bunch of new stuff I've been excited about, so once everything finishes like coming in the mail, that will definitely be coming. But I have some new products that I want to do like first impressions or tutorials or things like that. And typically I do first impressions on at least like complexion products, but I actually decided for this video to do more of like a review style video, which I don't typically do, but I'm actually really glad I tested this out because I'm super excited to share this with y'all. And of course, as you know, which is why you clicked on this video, we are going to be talking about the Kosas foundation and concealer. I was going to do a first impression, but then I actually decided to test it out first because I was really nervous about the shade situation. I ordered these online, which I feel like is a lot of times a gamble. So we will talk about the shade situation for sure, but I am wearing both products right now, of course, and I did film my whole makeup application, so I'm going to be inserting the footage of me demoing this and showing y'all how I applied it. I did do like a sponge on one side, a brush on the other. We kind of like tested out how it built up and how it worked with the concealer. You guys will see all of that in this video. My son is napping right now, so I'm hoping I can get through this whole review portion before he wakes up, but I'm really excited to share like my thoughts and just kind of my whole experience with these two products because these are like so hyped up right now, I feel like, and that's honestly the reason I purchased them. I kind of like fell into the hype, but I want to let y'all know if they are worth the hype and worth the price or not. So if y'all are just here for the foundation or just for the concealer, I will have timestamps down in the description box if y'all want to skip to like one versus the other. If you're not interested in seeing me talk about both of these products, check out the description. I will have that there for you if you want to kind of skip around. So if y'all want to see my thoughts on the Kosas Revealer Foundation and the Creamy and Brightening Concealer, then just keep watching. So I gotta be honest, I'm not gonna go into like all of the claims and information and all of that on this product because, to be honest, when I watch foundation reviews, like I don't need anyone to like read me the whole box, because typically if I'm watching a foundation video, it's because I already know about the product and I just want to like see how it works, and I'm typically like watching a few different videos to see like what the shades are like on different skin tones and how they apply and stuff. And obviously if y'all want like all the tea on like every little thing about this foundation, you could just check the link in the description and read everything for yourself. I feel like that's just like the boring part. I always like skip through that part of the video. I know it's probably helpful for some people, but I feel like for the most part y'all are just here to see how this foundation works and kind of like hear my experience and my thoughts. So I will have these linked down below if you want like the full information, but essentially this is kind of like a skincare sort of product. It is called the Revealer Skin Improving Foundation, and it does have SPF 25 in it. I got the shade Light Cool 150. It's a light with cool pink undertone, and so I feel like the main features of this foundation are that it is like a skincare type foundation. It literally says here on the box that it's clean makeup for skincare freaks, which I am not a skincare freak. Like that's not why I purchased this, but I guess it is kind of a cool feature, and if you are into that, then this would be a really cool foundation for you to try out, I think. And it does claim to have like a natural finish. Specifically, this one claims to be medium coverage, and here are all of the claims. If y'all want to pause this video and kind of like read this over, you are welcome to. I did get mine from Sephora. I don't think this is at Ulta, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, the shade I was really worried about. Like I said, I got Light Cool 150, and I was torn between so many shades. And actually when I first got this and like opened it up and looked at the shade, I was like, this looks like it's going to be way too light for me, and especially because we are in the warmer months now and I'm going to be hopefully getting a little bit of color, and I do use self tanner. I was like a little bit worried this wasn't gonna work for my like general warmer weather skin shade, but believe it or not, this color works like almost no matter what, which is why I was really excited to kind of test this out before I did this video, because I think if I had done a first impression, I wouldn't be able to give y'all quite as much information. But because this is like a lighter, kind of like a medium coverage foundation, I honestly would consider this like a true medium coverage. It's definitely not full, but it's also not like super sheer, and I think that actually works to its advantage when it comes to the shade because it's not like super thick and like super opaque. This shade actually works with like my natural like normal skin tone right now, but it also works when I have my self tanner on. I use the Tanologist, the medium like drops that you put in with your moisturizer, and it matches like pretty much no matter what. And again, I think it's because it's like kind of more on the lighter coverage side, so I'm actually really happy with the shade I got. I think this this will work for me like most of the time. Obviously, if I'm like super tan, this would probably be a little light, but I think for the most part, this shade will work for me all the time, which is why I'm really impressed with it. The concealer, on the other hand, we will talk more about this, but these shades are like wildly different, so that's also why I was nervous. This is a lot darker, but they still work together, so there's something about these products. It's very adaptable. So I will show y'all in the demo how I applied it, but I did use a sponge on this side and a brush on this side. The sponge, I don't feel like soaked up a lot of product. I just like kind of dabbed it all over my face and then just kind of sponged it in. It doesn't like start drying down or anything quickly, so you definitely have time to do that, like dab it all over your face and then work with it. You have time to kind of blend it out before it starts kind of setting down. I have footage kind of what it looks like just with the sponge side done and the other side of my face like still bare with no makeup on. And I think you can kind of tell it's not like a wild difference from one side to the other in terms of shade or coverage. I feel like the sponge side, it just looks like my skin is just a lot more even and healthy and glowy. It looks like my natural skin, but just kind of elevated, which is honestly what I've been going for lately. Ever since I've been pregnant, my skin has been kind of perfect, believe it or not, which I feel like so blessed because I had a lot of adult acne before that. Like it was kind of a problem, but my skin has been really good for like the past year. So kind of a lighter to medium, like more sheer coverage foundation really works for me, especially in the summer months. I don't want anything like super thick or super heavy. And for that reason, that's also why I feel like with this foundation, like you can just see it kind of improves my natural skin situation, but one side to the other doesn't look crazy different because it doesn't provide too much to your skin. It just kind of enhances whatever you have going on, but of course does even things out. I do have like discoloration on my face. My skin's not perfect, but I don't have any like active blemishes or anything like that where I have a ton to cover up. So I don't think like you could tell a huge difference between the two sides. But once I did use the brush on the other side, I really don't feel like I could tell much of a difference in terms of the application. You guys will see as well, and you can let me know if you notice a big difference, but I don't feel like the sponge side was like wildly more dewy or less coverage. Obviously, typically a sponge will kind of sheer things out a little bit, but I really feel like the two sides look almost exactly the same. I honestly don't know if I would have been able to tell a difference if I didn't know like the application difference. Usually I prefer a brush for coverage, but I kind of enjoy applying my makeup with a sponge more, if that makes sense. But I feel like with this, you could honestly go either way and it looks really good, kind of no matter what. I do also have a clip of me just building up the foundation just on the brush side, just to kind of like show y'all how it looks. Again, I don't have like a ton to cover, so it's a little hard to really like tell if it's adding a ton more coverage, but I honestly feel like it is slightly buildable. Like I do think I could tell that it was like a little bit more coverage in that one spot, but not like crazy amount of coverage. So I don't think if you want like this to get full coverage, I don't think layering it will get you to full coverage, but I do think you can layer it up a tiny bit and sort of like amp up the coverage a little bit, probably get closer to like a high medium coverage. It's like slightly buildable. And before applying this today, I have used this quite a few times, so these are kind of like my collective thoughts. Oh no, my battery. And I also feel like you'll be able to tell in the demo footage, and even now it's definitely like a little bit glowy. It's definitely not like overly super dewy, so I don't think that this is one if you have oily skin that you need to like worry about, but it definitely has like that very like healthy, kind of like very natural glow. But even though it's kind of glowy, it actually like sets down almost to a powder finish, which is crazy. I feel like most of my foundations, I never feel that way. And I always set my foundation no matter what with a powder. To me, that's like not wearing underwear or like a bra or something. I cannot just like have my face unset for me. But if you are someone that isn't like hung up on setting your foundation and you don't mind not using a powder, or if you're someone that prefers not to use a powder, this would totally work without setting it. 100%. Like you can blend products over top of it and it doesn't get patchy. It doesn't feel super heavy or super tacky. I really don't have many foundations that I feel like set down and like feel like they could go without setting. So when I realized that this did that, I was really surprised. So I really think that is a cool feature of this foundation, especially for the summer months. If you really want to use like very minimal products, the fact that you can just put this on and kind of leave it without caking on a ton of different powders, this is a great option. I actually only use cream products with this. Y'all will see in the demo. I use a cream bronzer, a cream blush, and a cream highlighter, and all of those products work really well with it. Even though it does dry down to like more of a powdery finish, you can still put cream products over top of it and they look wonderful and they blend perfectly. But you can of course also use powder product. That's what I've done many times wearing this as well. But I also still feel like I said, even though I did set my face with a translucent powder, I didn't use anything with coverage or color, so you're getting like the true effect in terms of like the shade and the coverage. I just used the Airspun loose translucent powder. And in terms of the coverage, I really like the coverage. Like I was saying, for me, it is enough coverage. Obviously, if you have more problem areas, it might you know, if you're looking for full coverage essentially, you probably won't get that out of this. However, if you're okay with pairing a concealer with it, obviously this concealer or any concealer, you can of course use this just to kind of even things out and then use a concealer over top of your blemishes or your problem areas. I do like something that's like very like kind of lightweight feeling and easy to apply. I think this is like the perfect amount of coverage for me, which is why I really love it. I feel like I haven't outrightly said that, but if you can't tell, I'm kind of loving this. You can see in the demo portion, I have like a little bit of texture like on my chin. I have, again, like that little kind of cold sore area that's like a little bit drier. And then I have a little bit of like texture on my chin, and like my forehead definitely gets kind of creasy. But I feel like this works really, really well over texture. Like, I don't know what it is, but it just sort of like glides over everything and doesn't settle a ton. Like even over here in this dry area, you can't really tell that it's there. It's not like settling in or anything. So I feel like this will work for almost anyone, because if you do have like some problem areas or some dryness or anything like that, I feel like it won't accentuate it. But if you are oily, I think this will still work for you because it's not overly dewy. It just has a very like natural slight glow. And of course you can set it even more if you really want to mattify it or use a mattifying primer or any of those things. But because it does like dry down and set down to more of a powdery finish, I think it will work for you because it doesn't like stay tacky. For me personally, I have more of like normal skin. If anything, I get a little bit dry. I feel like this would literally work for like dry, normal, and oily skin, which again is kind of unique for a product. And I think again, for any like kind of coverage level you want, it would work for you too. I'm really, really feeling like this is kind of a universal product, which is probably why everyone is loving it. The only like kind of negative I feel like is the shade. Not even the shade selection. It's kind of hard to tell, especially online, what shade's gonna work, and I think the shades run a little bit on the warm side from what I could tell. Even though this is a light cool, it's not super, super cool. I thought this would be a little bit darker than it was. I feel like it's just where it falls in the shade range. I don't know, it just was very confusing for me. I personally just had a hard time like picking out my shade, especially compared to picking out the concealer shade. It's really hard based on how they number things to like decide which ones will work for you and what's gonna go together. So that's like the only thing I'll say. This might be something that you want to purchase in store. So obviously I'm really, really liking this. I love how just like light on my skin it feels. I like how light it looks. I feel like it doesn't look like I'm wearing a ton of makeup. It looks really, really natural. And honestly, the first day that I wore this, like this honestly hasn't happened with almost any product. There's like one other foundation that I've tried in the last probably couple months that I was really blown away with. The first day that I wore this, I kept like catching sight of myself in the mirror, like whenever I would be going to the bathroom or whatever, and I would kind of like stop in my tracks and be like, wow, my makeup looks really good. Like my skin looks really good. It really doesn't happen very often that I'm just like kind of caught off guard every time I like look at myself by how good I think the products look on my skin, how they're wearing and all of that. I literally like every time I saw myself, I was like, oh my gosh, wow. I was genuinely surprised by how impressed I was with my skin and my makeup all throughout the day. Like really, really genuinely impressed and surprised by how this looked and how it wore. I was vlogging the first couple days I was trying this out, so I can insert some footage from those vlogs other than the demo and me sitting here talking to you, just so you guys can see how it looks kind of like throughout the day. I've been wearing it for definitely multiple hours in all these different clips, just so y'all can see outside of the demo and obviously this like kind of studio lit situation that y'all are seeing me in right now, kind of see how it looks in other lighting. It's honestly super, super, super rainy today, so I don't really have much natural light to even show you in today. Like I said, I do have a baby, and when he nurses, he like messes with my chin. He just like pulls on it and rubs it, so it doesn't usually hold up super, super well on my chin, but it does seem to be pretty transfer resistant. I'm always like obviously holding my baby, hugging my baby, like my face rubs against his clothes and his face, and it doesn't seem to transfer. Like I said, I think because it sets down to more of a powder finish, I think it kind of helps it resist from transferring, and I just feel like it wears amazingly. Like it really looks very, very good after multiple hours of wear. I'm just so surprised and impressed by like all the things this foundation does. I really do feel like it's kind of worth the hype, believe it or not. This is a really, really good foundation. Obviously is a little more pricey. It is like a high-end foundation. I feel like this is worth the money. I feel like it's worth the hype. I'm genuinely very impressed with it, and I feel like this could easily become like one of my go-to like favorite products. And when I tried it out, I really wasn't expecting it to be everything everyone said. That's why I wanted to test it out, because I was like, is this really like that good? And it is. So I feel like that kind of brings us to the concealer. In the concealer, I got the shade 3.5W light with golden undertones. This is maybe a little bit user error that I got a warm concealer to go with a cool foundation. But like I said, things online, like the way they're numbered, like this is 150, but this is 3.5. Like the numbering system is completely different. So that's why when I first opened this and saw how much darker and warmer this was versus the foundation, I was like, no freaking way. is this gonna ever work? Like, I can't use these products together, and obviously I got them to wear together, but believe it or not, it totally works. Even though these shades are like wildly different in terms of undertone and honestly coverage, everything like that, they still work really well together. So again, if you want like the full claims and everything like that on this concealer, I will have it linked down below. But they do call it a super creamy and brightening concealer, and I will definitely say it is those things. Well, I wouldn't say that's brightening, but again, I think that's just like a shade situation. But I feel like in terms of coverage, these are quite different, which is why I was saying earlier, if this is not enough coverage for you, I think getting the corresponding concealer would get you to like the perfect amount of coverage, because this has honestly a lot of coverage. I've seen people kind of compare this to the Shape Tape. Definitely a dewy concealer and definitely a good amount of coverage. So y'all will see in the demo, it's definitely like different undertones and all of that. I used it pretty much all under my eyes and then just a little bit around my mouth to conceal on my chin. Again, like that cold sore kind of area, a little bit around my nose, and then my eyes. I actually used it as an eyeshadow primer to sort of like even out my eyelid. I used my finger to blend out the concealer. That's what I pretty much always do. And then I did go in with this sponge that I used to apply the foundation and just kind of like dab over it, just like make sure it was very blended and like concealer wasn't too stark, or kind of like meld everything together a little bit more. It definitely has a really good amount of coverage. I really like this. It's definitely very dewy and very hydrating feeling. I feel like this is way more dewy than the foundation. Like I said, the foundation sets down to like a powdery finish. This does not set down. I believe this has like skincare qualities as well. So if you're using this more for like blemishes, it might be really good for that because it is a fuller coverage. I think you could definitely use it to hide any kind of skin discoloration, blemishes, things like that. I used it under my eyes as well, and it works really well. I feel like some concealers are better suited for like one versus the other. For me, this works for both, but this is 1000% something that needs to be set down in my opinion. It is very creamy, very dewy, very tacky. I think you can even tell, obviously I have set my face like I said, but I think you can tell under my eyes, like it's very still dewy. But I feel like that works, at least for me. Like I feel like my under eyes typically need, you know, a little bit of hydration. I feel like the under eyes can be, you know, a little bit drier looking, and adding something a little dewier and hydrating can just like kind of plump it up a little bit, make it look really healthy, kind of like smooth it on. But it has a ton of coverage in my opinion. Like when you put it on and you blend it out, you do not sheer it out at all. Like the coverage stays. So these two paired together is a really good duo, because you know, where you don't need a ton of coverage, this is good enough. But then where you want to build up a little bit more, this is the perfect amount to like get pretty much a customizable amount of coverage. And it works really well for an eye primer too, as y'all can see. I mean, I haven't been wearing this makeup for a super long time, but all I did was put this on my eyes and set everything with the same powder, and then I just blended my eyeshadows over top of it like I normally would, and everything blended super fine over top of it. I didn't have any like patchiness or kind of like jagged applications. And I'm hoping you guys can tell from the demo how even though these shades are so different, they still like work when blended out. And even though this is like, I feel like a lot darker and warmer, they still work. I mean, y'all can see on me now, I feel like you wouldn't look at me and be like, oh, her concealer and her foundation are like weirdly different, or like a mix of undertones. They kind of work together. I feel like the fact that these shades are very like versatile and kind of adaptable, and they wear so well. They feel so good on the skin. I really honestly like, I feel like I kind of can't say enough good things about this foundation. What I will say is there is like, I feel like a normal amount of creasing. Y'all can probably see in my forehead. I mean, I have pretty defined lines there, and there's really like no foundation that's just never going to settle into those. Not like, you know, kind of building up in the creases or getting cakey. Same with my smile lines. I don't feel like it accentuates them or like settles into them. These just work. Like these just work so well. And now like I feel like I'm kind of just adding to the hype on the internet. Like I'm making a video about these like super hyped up products and I'm kind of hyping them up. But some things really are worth the hype. Like some things get a lot of attention and go viral like for a good reason. Believe it or not, I feel like sometimes that's definitely not the case. But with these, I feel like it's really true. I hope this gave you kind of a full like comprehensive idea of how these work and how they look and how they wear. I really think these are worth trying, but definitely go get your shade in person if you can. That's the only thing I'll say. But I think once you do get the right shades, I really think that y'all will love these. They're so good, and I really think they will work for like most skin tones and skin types, but I have a good feeling that they really would work. So I do hope that this video was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I will have everything linked down below. I'll list the shades that I have. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed. If you would like to subscribe, we would love to have you. We have so much fun here, and until next time, I will see y'all in our next video. Bye guys.